High above the Atlantic at feet, the cabin was calm. The lights were dimmed, most passengers were asleep, and flight attendants moved quietly through the aisles offering water. Everything seemed ordinary until the silence was shattered by the captain's trembling voice over the intercom. "Ladies and gentlemen, if there are any combat pilots on board, please come forward immediately." Confusion spread instantly. Heads turned, whispers rippled, and tension filled the air. In row, a young woman stirred. Her name was Elena Carter, 29 years old, a former U.S. Air Force fighter pilot who had left the service after a mission ended in tragedy. Dressed simply in jeans and a hoodie, hair tied back, she looked like any other traveler escaping the chaos of life. No one around her knew she had once flown through deadly skies, surviving battles that pushed her to the edge of death. On this flight, she had hoped only for peace, a book half finished in her lap and exhaustion pulling her into dreams. But the captain's urgent words snapped her awake. A combat pilot in a passenger plane. Why? Elena hesitated, instincts clashing with her desire to remain invisible. Memories of her fallen squadron, and the promise she made to never fly again haunted her. Yet something in the captain's tone told her there was no choice, lives were in danger. Slowly she rose, walked the aisle, and felt eyes following her every step. Passengers whispered, "Is she really a pilot?" She ignored them, jaw tight, and stepped into the cockpit. What she found was chaos. The captain sat pale and swaying, his co-pilot unconscious with an oxygen mask slipping from his face. Warning alarms blared, red lights flashed across the panels, and the aircraft was caught in a violent storm with its autopilot completely disabled. "Controls are failing," the captain admitted, his voice breaking. "If I collapse too, this plane is gone." Without hesitation, Elena slid into the co-pilot's seat. Her hands brushed the controls like reuniting with an old friend. Fighter jets and commercial aircraft weren't the same, but flight was flight and survival was written into her bones. "They'll take it from here," she said firmly. The captain stared at her in disbelief. "Who are you?" She met his eyes. "Call sign Viper. Oxy Air Force, retired." Outside, lightning lit up terrified faces in the cabin. Oxygen masks dangled, passengers screamed, the plane lurched violently. But Elena's breathing steadied. She had flown through missile fire, survived dogfights, and danced with death in the skies. This storm was just another enemy to outmaneuver. "Left engine unstable," she muttered, adjusting power. "Hydraulics critical," the captain warned. "Then we fly like a wounded bird," she answered, steel in her voice. Minute by minute, she fought the storm. Every move demanded precision, too sharp, and the plane could tear apart, too soft, and they would lose altitude. In the cabin, strangers clung to each other. A little girl whispered to her mother, "Is she an angel?" Her mother, eyes wet with tears, nodded silently. Fuel was running low, and the storm showed no mercy. Then, through the chaos, Elena spotted faint runway lights cutting through the rain. She grabbed the radio. "Tower, this is Delta. Former Yusuf pilot at the controls. Request emergency landing." After a burst of static, a calm voice replied, "Copy that, Viper. You're clear to land. We're with you." The runway surged into view, but crosswinds slammed the plane hard, trying to shove it off course. Passengers prayed, cried, and held their breath as Elena blocked everything out. Her entire world narrowed to the yoke in her hands, the storm around her, and the runway ahead. "Steady, steady," she whispered to herself. The wheels hit the ground with a brutal screech, bouncing once, then again before slamming down. Elena fought the controls with everything she had, thrust reversers roaring, brakes screaming until finally, mercifully, the aircraft rolled to a stop. For a moment, there was silence. Then the cabin erupted cheers, sobs, applause. Elena's hands trembled as she removed her headset. The captain turned to her, tears streaming down his face. "You just saved 300 lives." But Elena shook her head softly. "No, they saved me." For years she had carried the crushing weight of survivor's guilt, haunted by the comrades she lost. But in that cockpit, keeping strangers alive, she rediscovered her purpose. When she stepped into the cabin, passengers stood to their feet, clapping and crying, some reaching to touch her hand. The little girl from before ran forward and hugged her tightly. "Thank you, Angel." Lena smiled through tears. For the first time in years, she felt whole. She hadn't asked for medals, recognition, or fame. All she ever wanted was peace, and somehow, by saving others, she had found it again. Life is unpredictable. Sometimes the person you least expect is the one who carries the strength to save everyone. Raoul will never be forgotten, because that was where an angel had been waiting for the call.